The Amazon rainforest. 2.5 million species call it their home. It's also their battleground. Every animal scrambling for turf, struggling for shelter, fighting for food. What a place to grow up. To survive takes instinct and nurturing. But what if you're an orphan in the rainforest? Or if you've lost your troop? And there's no other creature to nurture you? To survive here, you must defy the odds. Every year, 200,000 of Peru's monkeys are trafficked illegally. Almost all of them babies. For many, a new day dawns here. La Isla de los Monos, the island of the monkeys reserve. For the lucky few who've been rescued, this is sanctuary. One and a half square miles of paradise, surrounded by the protective moat of the Amazon River in Peru, a haven a little larger than New York's Central Park. Since 1997, the reserve has rescued, rehabilitated, and released more than 200 monkeys into the wild. Nine species, all victims of the pet trade. Here, they get a second chance, if, that is, they're able to adapt to their new home. It's early morning, and 9-month-old Emita is out exploring. She's a white-bellied spider monkey and one of the island's youngest newbies. Spider monkeys normally stay with their mothers until they're at least 1.5 years old. But Emita is on her own. She was just a newborn when she was torn from her mother's arms and taken to a market to be sold as a pet. Starving and dehydrated, Emita was rescued from the pet trade and brought here. Normally, she would have still been suckling, so for 2 months, she was fed milk with a syringe. Little by little, she graduated to a fruit diet. In a perfect world, Emita's mother would still be teaching her to climb, forage, and look out for danger. But so far, Emita is having to learn all that the hard way, by herself. Her first month on the island, she steered clear of the other monkeys. There's only one other white-bellied spider monkey here, a 12-month-old female, Lucera, and she's got attitude. When Emita gets up the nerve, it's her she approaches. But Lucera takes a pass. She's got no interest in babysitting. Weak and malnourished at first, so far Emita's stuck to the lower branches, making it easy enough for Lucera to give her the slip in the upper canopy. Anytime she catches up, Lucera heads off. She's stronger, faster, and more agile than Emita. She's also mastered a tried-and-true technique. She uses her prehensile tail as a fifth limb that can support her entire weight. Baby Emita slowly follows her unwilling adopted big sister. But Lucera is still too young to have any maternal instinct. She should still be in the care of her own mother. Lucera doesn't want a baby who needs help hanging around. She wants a playmate. Emita will just have to rise to that challenge, literally. Her longing for companionship and to be nurtured draws her on and up. Every length higher, a triumph. But when she finally makes the ascent, once again, Lucera is off. Only one thing can bring this game of chase to an end: breakfast. Fruit makes up to 90% of a spider monkey's diet, and they spend around a third of their day foraging in the canopy or looking for fallen fruit on the forest floor. But on the ground, there are many more dangers. White-bellied spider monkeys typically live in groups of up to 30, adults keeping watch over the young. But with only 2 of them, there's no safety in numbers. Especially while baby Emita is so blissfully unaware. Lucera is older and more cautious, more aware of the risks of dropping her guard. She senses something's not right. Not right at all. Hidden nearby, it's time for breakfast for a boa too. Lucera continues to play, but she keeps an eye on her surroundings. Boa constrictors are ambush predators. They're generally slow, but can strike with incredible speed. And they'll eat anything they can fit inside their powerful jaws. Spider monkeys are a favorite. At only 6.5 pounds, Emita would make a tempting mouthful. The boa's markings act as camouflage. Emita is oblivious, and why shouldn't she be? Her mother would have protected her if she was here. But this is a life lesson she may only get one chance to learn. Lucera wisely heads for the trees. Leaving Emita alone. The boa waits for its target to come into striking distance. At the last minute, Lucera sounds the alarm, and Emita responds to the call of danger. Surprisingly, after Emita's close call, this time Lucera waits for her. A threat to the only other spider monkey on the island may have triggered her protective instincts. While monkeys have dedicated mothers, some babies never even meet theirs. Just upstream of Isla de los Monos, the offspring of another mother are also on their own. But for them, it's all part of the plan. It's October, and 2 months ago, a yellow-spotted river turtle dug a shallow nest and laid a clutch of about 30 eggs. After covering them up, she returned to the river, leaving her future offspring to fend for themselves. They're just hatching. Incredibly, the sand's temperature during incubation determines the turtle's gender. Warmer sand produces more females, cooler temperatures, more males. It's been colder than usual this season, so this clutch will be largely male. Turtles are independent from the moment they hatch, and these tiny babies are ready to seize the day. There's one problem. There are predators everywhere, on land and in the air. Their first moments on Earth are a life or death mission. They've got to make it to the water or die trying. If, that is, they can make it out of their nest. A challenge when you're only 2 inches long. It's called a turtle boil. The hatchlings emerge in unison, spilling out of the nest like a pot bubbling over. The eggs were laid out of reach of flooding, around 65 feet from the water's edge. Now the hatchlings have got to run that deadly gauntlet. To the tiny turtles, it's a marathon. They don't need their mothers to teach them which way to go. Instinct drives them to the safety of the water. That lesson is written in their genes. It'll be 6 months before their calcium-rich diet will harden their shells. Until then, their soft shells are easy for predators to crush. And weighing less than an ounce each, the hatchlings make easy pickings for birds. But they can overwhelm their attackers with sheer numbers. The more that make a break for it at the same time, the better the odds that at least a few will survive. Though some falter at the crest of the nest, exhausted by the climb. The longer they delay, the more vulnerable they are. Their survival depends on making the rush to the river together. But one straggler is stuck. Every passing second, his chances plummet. His struggle isn't lost on a visitor overhead. A black vulture is normally a scavenger, but it won't pass up an easy meal. It studies the movement below, circling to take stock. Unaware of the danger, the lone hatchling slogs on. The vulture circles lower. There are only 2 ways this journey could end: swept away in the currents or snatched up in a set of claws. Slow and steady wins the race. Today, there are fewer hatchlings to seek safety among and to feast on. The yellow-spotted turtle is at risk of extinction. That goes for all too many species of the rainforest, like the woolly monkey. Even though they're an endangered species, they're still hunted legally by indigenous tribes for their meat. As one of the largest South American primates, their size and weight make them prime targets. Celia is 5 months old. She arrived at the preserve at only 2 months. In the wild, woolly monkeys form groups, mostly of related females and their offspring, and all are ruled by the dominant male. They can number 30 or 40, or so they used to. As the population has dwindled, so have troop sizes. Lucky for Celia, there are 11 other woolly monkeys on the island. They make an unlikely troop of 2 females and 9 males, an improvised foster family for little Celia, the youngest member. But they've got plenty to teach her. When foraging for food, the troop splits up to make the most of the search. As they spread out across the forest, they stay in constant communication, calling out when they can't see each other. They're noisy, with 6 different types of calls. If they spot danger, they sound the alarm and switch to a trill to signal a different sighting. Someone's found something good to eat. For Celia and the others, that's the dinner bell. Guava is an all-time favorite. 80% of a woolly monkey's diet is comprised of fruit. When that's not on the menu, they'll eat seeds, flowers, and insects. Celia's mother would have taught her what to eat by dropping pieces of fruit to her. A lemon guava is yellow when it's ripe. Celia has already learned this one's too green. Her troop mates are no substitute for Mom, but they're helping her learn what she needs to thrive. Sharing the trees of the Isla de los Monos is a creature that's famously one of the world's slowest. The three-toed sloth. She's doing what sloths do best, nothing. She lives to sleep. She spent her first 6 months carried by her mother, preparing for a lifetime of leisure. When babies are 6 months old, sloth mothers move away, leaving their offspring to inherit their home turf. It's Mom's way of guaranteeing enough food to sustain her young. An adolescent hanging around at home, expecting her meals to come to her. Imagine that. But sadly, the patch of forest this sloth's mother left her was cleared by farmers and burned to the ground. Displaced, she became a prime target for poachers for the tourist selfie market and the pet trade. A young sloth sells for a mere $13. Luckily, a farmer found her and brought her here. She spends virtually all her time in the treetops, barely moving. But lazy she isn't. It's all about her low-energy diet. She loves the leaves of the cecropia tree that flourish here. Her slow movements are also her primary defense. One of the world's largest eagles, the harpy, is her nemesis. With talons larger than the claws of a grizzly bear, it often preys on sloths. And though they may weigh about the same, a sloth has little or no chance of surviving once spotted by the most powerful raptor in the rainforest. So she lays low. Her shaggy fur and colouring also allow her to blend into the trees. Those dark speckles on her coat, they're aptly named sloth moths. Their life cycle is tied to their host. Sloth fur is the only place they can live. She can have well over 100 moths feasting on the algae that grows on her long, spongy hairs. She's supporting a mini ecosystem. Her freeloaders take full advantage of something else as well, laying their eggs in her excrement. Every 7 days, she sets out on an ambitious venture. To the ground for a bathroom break. For a three-toed sloth, it's the height of risk. Down on the ground, she's exposed and vulnerable. But scientists believe this is also her big chance at finding a mate. With her scat, she's leaving her dating profile while checking out the mating status of available males. But she's cautious. Safety first. She's on guard. A sloth has more vertebrae in its neck than a giraffe. She can turn her head 270 degrees, a handy trick when you need to watch her back. The coast is clear. She heads into the slow lane. Not all the island's transplants can survive on their own. Howler monkeys live to be social. And while Celia and Emita have the company of individuals of their own species, this 6-month-old howler is the only one of her kind here. When Rusa arrived, she had no role model, no one to bond with. Her prospects seemed bleak. But things seemed to be looking up. After months of working the crowd, she's making headway, gaining acceptance amongst an unusual group of allies. Only on Isla de los Monos could Howler play with Woolly and Woolly play with Spider. Monkeys all. Rusa loves to mix it up. It's rare to see animals accept and play with a member of a different species, but then there's nothing usual about life here. While the others give her companionship, hard as she tries, Rusa will always be an outsider. Her only hope of learning what she needs to know as a howler monkey: instinct. Her innate sense of what it takes to get by. If she can figure out how to survive, then maybe this can be her surrogate family. But with no other howler monkeys around, how will Rusa learn the ways of her own kind, how to behave, how to stay safe? When she's older, how to howl. And hardest of all, what to eat. The woolly and spider monkeys she lives with are both fruit eaters. But howler monkeys have a different diet, and no one's handing out any menus. Thankfully, instinct has kicked in for Rusa. Instead of fruit, she eats mostly leaves, so mealtime is alone time. And then there's playtime. She's physically different in ways that sometimes put her at a disadvantage. The woolly monkeys are both older and much bigger than her. So in a play fight, it's no contest, especially when it comes to tree hopping. Woolly monkeys leap through the canopy, and spider monkeys swing effortlessly hand over hand. But like all howler monkeys, Rusa mainly clambers about on all fours. She's much slower than the others and can't really leap. Howlers are the least active of all monkeys. When she grows up, Rusa will rest about 80% of the time. But as a playful youngster, she does her best to fit in. She's up for some rough and tumble. No matter the species, play is the way. The chance for young animals to test their limits and their potential. But when you're wrestling in the wrong weight class, it's not always a fair fight. When push comes to shove, the spider monkey has the advantage. She can hang in the canopy with her tail, leaving her hands and feet free to wrestle. But even when Rusa loses, she wins, earning her place in the fold. These babies are play fighting. But in the real-life battles of the Amazon, the stakes are much higher. The goal: to avoid falling prey to this appetite. Fully grown, a black caiman weighs almost 900 pounds. The largest predator in the rainforest, she'll feast on any fauna, swallowing the hapless whole. But even this terrifying creature starts life as a cute little baby. This little darling is just 3 months old. He could grow up to 16 feet, but only if he can make it through today. This may be the most dangerous day of his life. For the first time, he's striking out on his own. For months, his mother has watched over her young, preparing him and his 45 siblings for the world. Most of them won't survive their first year. Good reason why Mum hedged her bets and laid so many eggs. Now, though, the future looks bright. And this little fellow is ready to put his nursery behind him. You'd think he's got all the defenses he needs. Scaly armor, plated and barbed, sharp claws to protect him, large eyes for nocturnal hunting, and extra eyelids to help him see underwater when he's homing in on prey. But he's only a foot long, smaller than a rabbit, and half of that is tail. If he slips into the wrong pool, predatory fish could devour him in seconds. He's still a monster in the making. All he needs to launch his reign of terror is the right spot to settle down. A secluded marsh where he can park, with a stretch of lake he can prowl nearby. A new home, like this. It even comes with a full pantry. He'll snap up anything he can get his little jaws around, from insects to small amphibians. It almost seems too good to be true. Because it is. This pond is taken. And he's disturbed a teenage caiman. It's about 7 times longer than him and weighs almost 100 pounds. It's not looking for a roommate, and here's the really bad news. Caiman eat their own kind. But the hatchling's size may actually be an advantage. He can slip into tiny hiding places where his pursuer can't go, and live to face another day of danger tomorrow. Emita the spider monkey is building up her experience too. She's steadily catching up with Lucera, learning the ropes of how to swing with the best. She's developing her powerful arms. And she's also graduated to negotiating the upper canopy with the spider monkey's secret weapon, her prehensile tail. Lucera has shown her by example how to use it to climb and forage at the same time. 32 tiny vertebrae in that tail give her the flexibility to grip even the smallest branches. Emita is doing well, but she has a lot more to learn. And she may be out of luck. There's a new swinger on the island. A teenager named Moreno. a scrappy, confident 3-year-old who was recently dropped off at the rescue centre in a box. He's everything Lucera's been waiting for in a playmate, and she's smitten. Emita was already struggling to bond with Lucera. Now, 3's sure to be a crowd. She can't compete with a heartthrob. But being motherless, her survival depends on Lucera's life lessons. Just when she was getting the hang of it, spider monkeys are extremely social, but on the jungle floor is a rainforest regular who's used to going it alone. 2 feet long and weighing as much as a small dog is one of the world's largest rodents, the agouti. It's the middle of the dry season and food is scarce, so she needs to forage for longer in places where she's dangerously exposed. But self-reliance is the agouti's forte. The very morning after she was born, her mother got her to build a nest of her own to prepare her for independence. Even as her mother fed her, she taught her to forage. By the time she was 5 months old, she was fending for herself. She's quick and quiet, scampering on her toes with hoof-like claws. On the flip side, to every carnivore in the jungle, she's appetizing. Every rustle puts her on edge, but she's hungry. Her favorite food, Brazil nuts, rich with protein and fat. Equipped with sharp teeth, she's one of the only animals in the jungle who can break through the hard shell and get to the tasty nugget inside. That makes the agouti a key species in this ecosystem. Without her to disperse their seeds, Brazil nut trees wouldn't grow. It also makes the agouti's plight all the more poignant. For thousands of years, local tribesmen have been hunting agouti for meat. Poaching can wipe out a species, and with one, go many. The myriad of lives in the rainforest are intertwined. Isla de los Monos is one solution, a safe haven for many species in peril. The woolly monkey is endangered. These orphans are proof of their species' plight. In the wild, a troop would have members of all ages. But here, these youngsters make up the entire troop. That can get confusing. Celia is the newest and youngest member. In woolly society, she's low in the hierarchy. Who's king of the canopy is decided through play. Three-year-old Martin wrestles with Celia. He was less than a year old when he came to the sanctuary. He'd been kept as a pet and had no experience playing with other monkeys. Now he's making up for lost time. But there's more to this monkey business than just fun. This rough and tumble is helping Martin to learn to socialize and Celia to overcome her shyness. It's also establishing the social pecking order of the troop. For the woolly monkey youngsters, the forest floor is both a playground and a proving ground. For the three-toed sloth, it's ground zero. The start of a deadly mission. Many animals will face threats to protect their young, to find food, or to wage battle over a mate. The sloth braves death to go to the bathroom. Over half of sloth fatalities occur during their weekly toilet trip to the jungle floor. It's the only reason she leaves the treetops, and it's an incredible investment of energy. She'll lose a third of her body weight in the process. If a predator spots her, her hind legs are too weak to run away. Instead, she digs her claws into the earth and drags her body across the ground at the breakneck speed of 6.5 feet per minute. Finally, nature calls. But the screech of a harpy eagle rings out. She stays deathly still. It hasn't seen her. It's time to flee. It might not look like she's hurrying, but to a sloth, this is lightning speed. And up again she goes, to the safety of the trees. Fast thinking, lightning reflexes, to the rescue. Until she's drawn down again by the next call of nature. Early morning on Isla de los Monos. Little Rusa, the island's only howler monkey, is about to have a lucky break. Today's new arrival is Rosemary, a younger howler. Rusa suddenly has a friend of her own species, a kindred spirit. Now Rusa can play the role of mentor, teaching Rosemary the tricks of the howler trade. The friendship they're forming could be the start of a new, tight-knit howler troop. But the baby caiman is still all alone and out in the open. He escaped the powerful jaws of his teenage neighbor, but he's still homeless and exposed to danger. He's learned to avoid territory that's already occupied, but being out in the open like this is just asking for trouble. The more he moves about, the more attention he draws to himself. Hungry predators abound, and he's far too small to fight it out. Camouflage is his greatest asset, helping him blend into the muddy background. Evolution has equipped him with the instinct to find water. Finally, he strikes gold, a perfect place for an independent young caiman to grow and teach himself to hunt. And this time, he's got it all to himself. Spider monkeys, on the other hand, are social. And going solo wouldn't go well for baby Emita. She already suffered the trauma of losing her mother and struggled to be accepted by Lucera. Then, to top it off, Moreno arrived. And she faced possible rejection and loneliness once again. But today is a new day, and there's good news. Instead of Emita being cast aside, a new dynamic has developed. Incredibly, Moreno has brought the two females closer together. Female spider monkeys keep their distance in the wild, but the males are far more social. Moreno's gregarious nature seems to have helped forge a bond between Lucera and Emita. They're now inseparable. Where once were just two, there's now a happy trio. Learning together how to find their way and overcome obstacles on their journey to adulthood. For now, the future looks promising for Emita, Rusa, and Celia, the outcasts of Isla de los Monos. Without their mothers, they're building their own unique bonds and relationships, sometimes even with other species. They're finding out where instinct must make way for instruction. And with a helping hand from Mother Nature, these animals are learning how to survive the Amazon.